The Novamarines are a loyalist chapter of the Adeptus Astartes who were created during the course of the Second Founding. The chapter was founded by the Ultramarines captain Lucretius Corvo, who commanded the Legion's 90th Company, which was known more informally as Nova Company during the course of the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy. When the Novamarines were founded, Corvo and his brothers would swear an oath to defend Ultima Segmentum from the enemies of mankind, and over the course of their history, the chapter has become renowned for their many accomplishments in their service to the Imperium. Like many other chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, the Novamarines follow the tenets laid out within the Codex Astartes, a sacred text penned by their Primarch, Rabute Guilliman. However, the Novamarines are considered to be exceptionally strict adherents to the Codex, even by the standards of other Ultramarine successors, and have even been known to come to blows with chapters that may diverge too far from its teachings. This adherence to the Codex even extends as far as to eliminating all vestiges of an aspirant's parent culture. The Novamarines recruit primarily from the storm-racked feral world of Honorum, whose native population are consisted of tribal hunter-gatherers. When aspirants are drawn from these tribes to become inducted as new recruits for the chapter, the Novamarines will scour all of the previous beliefs and traditions held by the aspirant during the indoctrination process, replacing it with a more Ultramarian mindset and culture. One of the few exceptions to this, however, is the practice of applying ritualistic tattoos to a battle brother's skin, which serves as a visual representation of a warrior's life in service to the Emperor. Many within the chapter also believe that these tattoos will protect a warrior's soul from evil spirits, and that upon their death, the deeds recorded upon their flesh will allow the Emperor to truly judge their worth. The core values held by the Novamarines are uniformity of thought, strength of purpose, and placing service to the Imperium above all other needs. The chapter has also adopted an outlook that has been dubbed by the Inquisition as a monodominant doctrine, as the Novamarines believe that, in order for humanity to survive and prosper throughout the galaxy, all other sentient races must be driven to extinction. This belief is derived from the teachings of Lucretius Corvo, who once stated that once each and every Xenos race has been exterminated, the destiny of mankind will have finally been achieved. Over the course of their existence, the Novamarines have battled fiercely against the enemies of man, taking part in numerous conflicts such as the Badab War, the Luxor Uprising, and even succeeding in driving the chaotically corrupted Xenos race known as the Lacrol to extinction. But one of the chapter's earliest campaigns was one that would have the majority of records pertaining to it becoming heavily censored or even destroyed outright. This series of events was known simply as the Pale Wasting. In late M34, during the course of the Nova Terra Interregnum, reports would begin to surface of a threat emerging within the region of space known as the Ghoul Stars. While multiple contradictory accounts were recorded over the course of the Pale Wasting, what is known for certain is that this threat was described as being both a star-spawn plague that devastated scores of worlds, and nightmare engines that slaughtered multiple systems. One of the few concrete accounts of this series of events is inscribed upon a great stone monument that is located within the Imperial Palace upon Terra. In addition to the Novamarines, 11 other Space Marine chapters were listed to have taken part during this conflict, though all of these chapters, with the exception of the Novamarines, would be destroyed during the course of what must have been a truly apocalyptic war. Somewhat surprisingly, the historical archives of the Novamarines themselves make no mention of the events that unfolded during the course of the Pale Wasting. As a result, the one question that still needs to be asked is just who or what was behind the cause of this so-called Pale Wasting. One clue to the identity of those behind the Pale Wasting may lie within the solitary monument dedicated to this event, which exists within the Imperial Palace. one of the few known pieces of information that was inscribed upon this stone, as detailed within Imperial Armor Volume 9, states the following.
By their mortal sacrifice and unmatched valor, unmade that which cannot die, and so preserved the most holy realm of mankind.
Given that this inscription mentions that which cannot die, could it be possible that the pale wasting was caused by the ancient Xenos race known as the Necrons? The Necrons are notorious for being incredibly difficult to truly destroy, due to not only being comprised of a highly durable material known as necrodermis, or living metal, which is able to regenerate itself from damage, but also as a result of what happens to a Necron construct should it suffer catastrophic damage. If a Necron warrior suffers crippling damage over the course of a battle, then it will be teleported back to the nearest tomb complex in order to undergo extensive repairs, or have a new body forged entirely for them, before having their consciousness transferred into it. The only major exceptions that occur is whenever the mechanism that allows a Necron to, for lack of a better term, phase out, is in itself extensively damaged or destroyed. While a Necron may effectively die countless times and be reborn within a newly constructed body, each subsequent resurrection will often result in increased degradation to their personality engrams, and as a result, those Necrons who have had their consciousness transferred time and time again will eventually become little more than mindless automata. The possibility of the pale wasting being as a result of a Necron incursion could also be supported by the fact that one of the claims regarding this event states that it involved constructs known as nightmare engines. Necron technology is known to be some of the most advanced in existence, being beyond the understanding and comprehension of most of the sentient races within the galaxy. Many war machines and weapons utilized by the Necrons, such as tomb stalkers, canoptek wraiths, and tomb spiders, sport an insectoid appearance, which can arguably be described as being unsettling or even nightmarish to some. What also helps support the possibility of the pale wasting being a conflict against the Necrons is that located within the Ghoul Stars, the region of space where this series of events took place, is the tomb world of Drazak, which is also known as the Bone Kingdom. This particular tomb world is somewhat unique when compared to other Necron worlds, as it is populated entirely by constructs that have succumbed to the effects of the Flare virus, a contagion that transforms Necrons into horrific monstrosities, which exhibit an unnatural craving for flesh and blood. The ruler of Drazak, a being that appears to be somehow immune to the effects of the Flare virus, known as Valghul the Fallen Lord, has also been known to launch raiding parties against nearby worlds whenever his people suffer a food shortage. While the Necrons may initially appear to be the ones behind the events of the Pale Wasting, there are a number of potential flaws with this particular hypothesis. The first of which is regarding the Imperium's initial contact with the Necron race. Officially, the Imperium made first contact with the Necrons during 897 M41, when the Xenos assaulted a fortress convent of the Adeptus Astartes known as Sanctuary 101. Given that the Pale Wasting took place in M34, it would appear to be unlikely that this event was as a result of a Necron incursion, especially since many tomb worlds wouldn't begin undergoing the awakening process until M41, although it is admittedly possible that the Necrons upon Drazak had awakened at an earlier point in time, as some Necrons have been known to be active prior to this particular date. For example, the Necron Lord Trazyn the Infinite was speculated to have awoken sometime around M30, or possibly even earlier, due to the fact that his vast collection of artifacts and scientific specimens contained within it numerous Astartes from the time of the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy. The second reason as to why the Necrons may not have been responsible for the events of the Pale Wasting is due to one of the numerous accounts regarding this conflict, describing a star-spawned plague. This would suggest that whatever caused the pale wasting unleashed some form of biological weapon, like an engineered viral strain, in order to weaken its foes before committing to a full-scale assault. But then again, it is also possible that this plague was not some form of viral contagion, but perhaps something more akin to a biblical plague of locusts. Necrons are often accompanied by small insectoid robots known as scarabs, which are designed to break down both organic and inorganic material in order to convert it into energy. These robots are also capable of replicating themselves at an astonishing rate, and if given enough time, they can create swarms so vast in size that the sheer number of scarabs moving through the air is capable of blocking out sunlight. As such, this star-spawned plague could in itself be a reference to swarms of scarabs. But what cannot be explained, however, is as to why the records of this conflict would be sealed away or purposefully destroyed by Imperial authorities. The majority of records documenting the various conflicts between the Imperium and the Necrons, such as the Battle for Damnos and the Orphean War, are fully accessible to Imperial historians and archivists. The fact that the events of the Pale Wasting were themselves censored or purged would strongly suggest that whatever was behind this series of events was something else entirely. With this in mind, could it be possible that the events of the Pale Wasting was not due to an awakening Necron tomb world, but instead a result of a massive demonic incursion? Prior to the creation of the colossal warp rift known as the Cicatrix Maledictum, the Imperium was known to heavily redact or classify any information regarding any incidents that primarily involved demonic entities, with such conflicts including the events of the Purging of Ganymede, the Barbarous Incursion, and the Molov Massacre. The reason as to why such events would be so heavily censored was in order to prevent the average Imperial citizen learning about the existence of the Chaos Gods. The Inquisition has even been known to subject any Imperial militias or regiments of the Astra Militarum that fought against demonic entities to extensive mind-wiping procedures or even purging them outright, so as to help prevent any knowledge regarding the existence of demons from becoming widespread. The fact that demons are also said to be impossible to truly kill, outside of a few incredibly rare exceptions, could also support the possibility that the monument which recorded the events of the Pale Wasting was a documented account of a demonic incursion. The nightmare engines, described in what few records of the Pale Wasting that remain, could be referring to the nightmarish constructs known as demon engines. These demon engines are semi-mechanical monstrosities that contain within them the bound essence of demonic entities. Much like the previously mentioned nightmare engines, demon engines are creatures that harbor an intensive bloodlust and appetite for violence, often laying waste to all within their path and reveling in the destruction that is left in their wake. While some demon engines are created by binding a demon to an already existing vehicle, others, such as the Soul Grinder, can be summoned directly from warp space. The Starspawn Plague that was documented could even be referring to an outbreak of disease thanks to the presence of demons belonging to the Chaos God Nurgle, the god of disease and decay. Perhaps a demonic incursion of unprecedented scale took place within the Ghoul Stars, one that the Imperium only barely managed to contain, and at the cost of multiple Space Marine chapters. This wouldn't be entirely unprecedented, as throughout Imperial history, many demonic outbreaks of a truly apocalyptic scale have occurred, which would only be driven back and defeated at a great cost. One such example, detailed within the 6th edition Space Marine Codex, was that of the Bloodstar campaign. While the Imperium would ultimately prove victorious, the Relictors, Rainbow Warriors, and Fire Lords chapters would be utterly decimated during the course of the conflict. The idea of the Pale Wasting being the result of demonic entities would also provide a logical explanation regarding the presence of a Great Plague, nightmare engines, and entities that are seemingly incapable of dying, in addition to the majority of records regarding this conflict being heavily censored or destroyed. The final alternative in regards to what caused the Pale Wasting was that it was as a result of a previously undocumented Xenos race. The Ghoul Stars are said to be home to a variety of races, with some being so incomprehensibly alien that they are claimed to be almost supernatural. As such, it would appear reasonable to assume that the Pale Wasting was instigated by an upstart, technologically advanced or psychically powerful Xenos race, one that was, hopefully, driven to extinction, thanks to the heroic actions and sacrifices made by the Adeptus Astartes. If this theoretical race did somehow manage to survive the wrath of the Imperium, then perhaps one day they may launch another assault upon the dominion of mankind. Ultimately, we may never know for certain. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.